Hello everyone. Welcome to the lectures of the Self-Knowledge course. Today we will have lecture number 4 of the Phase B of this course. In today's lecture we will learn about mental unfolding, which is the practice through which we are going to be able to ascend from the astral plane to the mental plane. We are going to see how useful this practice can be in our process of self-knowledge. In order for us to understand this topic, let's remember that we have a sevenfold constitution. We are multidimensional beings, because our 7 bodies are what can allow us to move in the different dimensions of nature. 5 of these bodies are currently in a lunar state due to our fallen and degenerative condition. We have the physical body and the vital body that belong to the 3rd and 4th dimensions respectively, and although we have them fully developed, they are subject to illness, pain, decrepitude and death, thanks to our egoic condition. Our physical body allows us to have a presence in this 3rd dimension, and our vital body is what gives life and energy to this physical body. And we have not fully developed the astral, mental and causal bodies, but we only have a principle or embryo of these bodies. Our principle of astral body is what allows us to feel, since the astral plane is the plane of the emotions. Our principle or embryo of mental body is what allows us to think. And our principle of causal body, or of body of the will, is what allows us to have the will to deny ourselves to satisfy the desires of our ego. With these body principles, we can also, through the verification practices that we teach in this course, consciously unfold ourselves to these dimensions, and move in the lunar part of them, to carry out important investigations. This experiences will allow us, not only to verify and be certain of the work we are doing, but also to know directly how our inner world is, and obtain information that will help us in our inner work. But you will see that the unfoldings that we could perform with our lunar bodies are not 100% objective. Although they manage to be very clear and conscious, they have those components of instability, and that sensation that it is a dream. Hence, the importance of developing these bodies, passing them from their lunar state to a solar state, and creating them completely through the wise use of our sexual energy, through the practice of suprasex. When we have created the solar astral body, then we can move at will in the solar part of that lower 5th dimension, or astral world, and visit all the temples of wisdom and places that exist there. With the solar mental body, we can move objectively and consciously in the solar part of the mental world or upper 5th dimension. And with the solar causal body, we can move in the solar part of the lower 6th dimension or causal world. Remember that the Buddhic and Atmic bodies, that belong to the upper 6th dimension and 7th dimension respectively, are completely created and in a solar state, but we are currently disconnected from that superior part. When we get to lift all our fallen part, when we solarize our emotion, mind and will, we will rejoin these superior bodies. We must understand that each of these bodies belongs to a particular plane, and that we move in that plane with its corresponding body. Having remembered and understood this, let's see what mental unfolding is, and the simple technique that we can use to unfold ourselves to the mental plane. We have already learned in different lectures of the course to achieve a conscious astral unfolding, which is the practice through which we take out an interior double, or astral body, to move consciously, and at will, in the astral world or lower 5th dimension. The mental unfolding consists of, already conscious in the astral plane, being able to take out another internal double, or mental body, and with that body being able to move at will in the upper part of the 5th dimension, or mental plane. Let's remember that the dimensions are levels of consciousness. That is to say, that all the dimensions are here and now, and as we move in increasingly subtle bodies, there are fewer laws, therefore, there is more freedom, and we can then carry out deeper investigations. So basically unfolding ourselves to the mental plane is doing a double unfolding, unfolding ourselves to the astral plane, and from there, unfolding ourselves to the mental plane. Many people have experienced this process unconsciously through what is known as a false awakening, or a dream within a dream. That is when the person is having a dream, feels like he wakes up, does things, and even tells someone what he just dreamed, and then wakes up again, now in the physical plane. What happened there is that the person unconsciously found himself unfolded on the mental plane. He was moving with the mental body, and the first time he woke up, he was still unfolded, but now on the astral plane, with his astral body, and the second time that he woke up, now yes, he woke up in the physical body. But the idea is that we learn to make the process of going to the mental plane consciously, because we will see that this plane has some very interesting characteristics. For example, as that world is governed by only 12 laws, we will experience a greater freedom of movement. You can see that here, in the physical world, if we jump, we fall back to the floor heavily, because within the 48 laws that govern the physical world, is the law of gravity, which is that law by which we are magnetically attracted to the center of the earth. That law doesn't exist in those superior dimensions, therefore we can float and fly there. The laws that regulate time and space don't exist there either. That is to say, that here, in the physical world, for us to go from one place to another, it will take us a certain amount of time, depending on the speed at which we move. But in these higher dimensions it is different. There we can move at the speed of thought. We just focus on a place, we imagine ourselves there, and basically, we will teleport to that place. But not only to a place, but there we can also move through time with the same ease. So in contrast to this physical world and its 48 laws, the mental plane has only 12 laws. So the freedom of movement experienced with that body is incredible. Another interesting feature is that is the world of the atoms. The physical plane is a cellular plane, our physical body is made up of cells. The astral plane is a molecular plane, our astral body is made up of molecules, that's why that body, unlike the physical one, can go through walls or stretch infinitely. But the mental plane is even more subtle because it is atomic. And something very interesting is also to observe that molecules are composed of many atoms. Therefore, something that we are going to see as a difference between the astral and mental unfoldings is that in the astral plane, we are going to perceive our psychological defects, or eyes, as a unit. Because in that astral plane or emotional world, each one of our desires or selves is presented as an entity like a person, an animal, or a demon but one. For example, in the astral world we could find our impatience as a person with its characteristic impatience. We could see our jealous self as a jealous person, or our masturbator self as a monkey, for example. Instead, when we move towards the mental plane, our psychological defects are no longer seen as a unit. Because just like each molecule is made up of many atoms, and each negative emotion that we feel is made up of many negative thoughts, likewise, on the mental plane, that impatient self is going to present itself to us as a multitude of people, who are each one of the details that make up our impatience. And this aspect, in relation to our inner work of self-knowledge and psychological death, is fundamental. Since, as we saw in Conference 27 of Phase A, where we talked about the details, progress in psychological death occurs when we learn to observe and eliminate the small details that make up each of our negative ways of being. Another characteristic that is also very useful to us is the fact that the defect that has its seat in the mental plane is pride. And just as we out of pride talk all the time about ourselves, and we are all the time looking for someone to tell them the good and the bad that has happened to us. And due to pride, we are so talkative that many times we end up telling intimate things that it is not convenient for us to tell, falling into indiscretion. Exactly the same is the attitude of each of these selves on the mental plane. If we are, for example, studying our fornicating self, because we understand the need to stop taking our sexual energy out of the body. If in the mental plane we call our fornicating self, many people will arrive, with different characteristics. And each one of them, moved by pride, will be very eager to tell us everything we want to know. We will see different details of lewdness, pornography, masturbation, oral sex, details of anxiety, coquetry, seduction, sadism, masochism, sentimentality. In short, a multitude of people can arrive, which are the parts or the details that make up that self. That is why it is good that when we are going to do this type of research, we call smaller details. For example, instead of calling the fornicating eye itself, which is enormous, we specifically call a detail, like the eye of nocturnal emissions or the masturbator self, for example. And there will also be a group of people, but smaller, and the information that we can get from them, by observing and listening to them, will be very useful in our reflective meditations on that defect. So this technique is going to be very useful to us when we feel stuck in the psychological work on a defect, to see more details about it, and continue delving into the defect until it is completely eliminated. And another utility that mental unfolding has, is that through this practice we can identify the progress that we are having in the psychological work on any defect. Since if you are working on the elimination of a psychological defect, when you do the practice and call that self, you will see how some details will be injured or sick or already dead. And there you will be able to verify by yourselves the progress you are having in your psychological work. But we must keep in mind that we shouldn't go to the mental world to fight with our defects but to investigate them. There we would get to know how they are feeding from us, how we are feeding them, everything in detail. It is important then not be afraid. And when we wake up, it is important to take note and interpret the experience we had. Now, the practice to unfold ourselves to the mental plane is extremely simple. It consists of first unfolding to the astral plane, by performing any of the astral unfolding techniques that we have taught in this course. And once we are consciously unfolded in the astral plane, we order our astral body with a strong voice, with a commanding voice. Astral body, get out of me. This, while we jump forward at the same time that we act as if we are removing a coat, as if shaking off our astral body. That way we will remain in our mental body. Once we are located in the mental body, we will be consciously into the mental plane. Everything will look exactly the same, but when you move you will experience more freedom in movement, and if you call one of your psychological defects, prepare to see a crowd coming, because internally we are legion. The astral body and the mental body are both in the fifth dimension. They are two bodies of the same dimension, therefore the operation is easy there. Thus, when the two bodies, the astral and the mental, are separated, both bodies can talk to each other as two people do in the physical world, each with his own consciousness, and one sees the difference from one body to the other. And well, to finish this conference, I remind you of the importance of creating the solar mental body. As long as the legitimate astral body has not been fabricated, it is not possible to access the solar part of the astral world, and so it is with the mental body. In the lunar mental world, we cannot thoroughly investigate, because everything is illusory, there is much deception. On the other hand, in the solar part, everything is reality. Hence the importance of using all those essences and the energy that we are rescuing with psychological death, to through the supersex practice, invest them in the regeneration and fabrication of these solar bodies. And well, this has been today's topic. I hope it has been as clear as possible. If you have any questions, we remain available to resolve any concerns you may have. I leave you with the invitation to the next lecture of Phase B, in which we will talk about alchemy. A very interesting topic entitled, The Balance of the Centers and the Fabrication of Mercuries. A topic of utmost importance to gain access to the initiatory path that must lead us to the intimate self-realization of our being. Don't miss it.